Welcome back to Our Community. Susie Thomas visiting with Ray Fate and Pastor Barry Carter from Hammer and Nails. Some people might be hearing about this organization for the very first time. Tell a little bit about the history, how this got started, and it's been a while now, hasn't it?
It started in just at the end of the 1990s with a church group, and then it spun off into its own nonprofit in 2000. The founder was Darlene Leghart, and Darlene was the executive director until last August, end of August. And so it's been around for 18, going on 18 years now. And it was a small grassroots nonprofit. You're going to hear more about us now that we're in a good location, a visible location. We just moved to this new location, and we are going to be having an open house in the future.
Awesome.
Don't know when because we're not finished moving yet.
Stay tuned.
Stay
we
tuned.
will let you know when this open house is, but where are you located now?
We're at 1404 7th Street. You can see the McKinley Monument from where we are, and we're right next to Kennedy's Barbecue. That has turned out to be a very dangerous thing because
You frequent Kennedy's Barbecue?
I frequent Kennedy's Barbecue. In fact, we have a conference room in our building. It's called Conference Room A, and Conference Room B is a booth at Kennedy's.
Well, that's kind of handy. I think maybe another great thing for volunteers.
Yes,
What a
you go.
great
That's
place
right.
to volunteer when Kennedy's is right there.
Oh, it is. But when they smoke the hams around December for Christmas, I'm hungry 24/7.
Yeah, no
I almost
kidding.
started eating my desk.
Well, I just think it sounds like a lot of fun because you're talking about short-term. You're not talking about long-term volunteer service. These are short-term projects. Yes, talk about the kinds of projects you do.
Well, we do painting. We'll put screen doors on. Like Ray said a minute ago, we'll put decking on a porch, replace steps. One of the things, I went to the Canton Fire Department and asked young firemen if the Canton Fire Department would get involved, and they are going to get involved. But he said, you don't realize that that's one of our major problems when we go into homes. I said, what are you talking about? And he says, well, when we carry people in and out, sometimes there's a board missing on the front porch or there's a step missing, and we can get severely injured bringing someone out of the house. And he says, we want to volunteer because it helps us so that we don't get injured, so anything we can do, so they're looking to get involved with us.
You just don't think about that at all. Now, you said earlier that this does not really have anything to do with income, but it's got to have something to do with income because my gosh, in my head, I'm thinking, I can think of 5 or 6 projects I would put you guys on right now. But I know better than to call Hammer and Nails. We need to save this for people who would not be able to afford to call their person who comes and does those things. So about where on the spectrum do you like to be able to go in and help people?
It's pretty flexible. We use common sense. And the thing is, Habitat for Humanity has a program where they will do house repairs for people and give them a no-interest loan to do that. And they will be charged for it over time. If we get to the situation where we feel, because if you go strictly by income, it doesn't take into account how old the house is. It doesn't take into account how much the scope of the work, how many people are living there. So we just try to use good common sense. If we think somebody's in a position to afford the repairs, then they're referred to Habitat for that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
You
We don't leave them high and dry.
You're kind of like in tandem then, aren't you? It's 2 organizations that really kind of work together addressing different area of housing needs.
Different areas, and that's exactly right. We try to fix them. Habitat builds them from scratch.
Yeah. And you've not come to the point yet where you're fixing Habitat houses, right?
Not yet. No, they build them too well, thankfully. Yeah.
That's pretty nice.
Well, they're all newer, too, most of them, so that
Yes.
helps quite a bit. The vinyl siding they use today never rots, so.
My favorite TV shows are watching, the Gaineses go in and totally revamp something. Have you done something on those scales? What's like the biggest project you've done so far?
Well, again, I've only been there since September.
Right.
But we had a church, Knox Presbyterian Church out of Michigan, came down here with 2 busloads of people, and they spent an entire week here working on houses. So these houses were completely painted top to bottom, inside and out, any lumber repairs, porch railings, porch floors, everything. The houses were like a total makeover. They did some roof repair, which we don't like to get into a lot of that because of the liability issues. But they did 2 houses that were in the same neighborhood, and they must have had 40 people with them.
What a lift. What does that do to people's spirits?
Well, I tell you, a lot of the neighbors start saying, hey, how do I get on this, How do I get a piece of this action?
Right. Yeah, and is this no cost to the homeowner?
It is no cost to the homeowner.
How on earth do you afford to do this?
We don't. We don't. We have a very thin operating budget, only 3 paid personnel.
Yes.
And if we don't get the donations from foundations, and they've been very generous already, churches help us out quite a bit, individuals, corporations, if we don't get all that support, we don't do it. We don't have it.
So may I ask what your operating budget is as far as I can't imagine to be going in and fixing all these. Are we allowed to ask that question?
Yeah, you can ask that question.
What's your operating budget?
Well, I'm not going to answer
okay.
it, but I can ask it.
But
No.
feel free to ask.
It costs us about $10,000 a month to operate.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
So you've got some corporations that are behind you?
We do.
Some foundations?
Not nearly enough. Foundations, yes, by far. Foundations all pitched in locally to help us buy our new facility. They came out with it without even our asking. They just know this. They want to support this effort, and so they came forward and offered us a new building. A spectacular stroke of luck. And we're moving in there now, and that should help us because we're going to be more visible, and it's a little safer location. So that should help us with the volunteer recruiting.
I think so, because some people, their heart is there, but they're also trying to be wise as far as, I'm a little older, and I might want to be careful about where I go.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
So somebody listening is saying, okay, I might not be able to physically help, but I have a few dollars I'd like to contribute. Can individuals also partner with you in this way?
Sure, absolutely.
How do they do that?
Well, they can do it through PayPal on our website, or that they can give us a call. We can send them information. They can send, we can send them information on giving us a check, or, how they can partner with us. All they have to do is call our office.
And if a person does want to volunteer, maybe short-term, long-term, or it just sounds like a great thing to get the office together to do, or your Bible study, Sunday school class, your neighbors pull together and just be a fun thing, a fun way to spend some time.
Service days where a young couples group, a youth group, a corporate, I always tell a corporation or a church, you spend a day working together, you become close. You're serving together.
Yep.
So I'm really promoting service days where you can come in and do that. People will go overseas and spend $3,000 or more to fly somewhere, spend all those things. And that's wonderful because we are supposed to go on long-term missions. But we also need short-term missions where we're helping the people of our own community. And some of these are our own neighbors. We don't have to go to another nation. There's people in our own community who are struggling. They're struggling emotionally. They're struggling financially. And we need to be that hope. We need to make a difference. And that's what volunteers do. They make a difference. And you're not getting paid in this life, but you're getting eternal rewards for what you're doing. That's what's so neat about being a volunteer. You're not doing it for pay. You're doing it for eternal rewards.
Well, I love what you said, too, about the camaraderie that builds when you work side by side with someone. And you know what else? If you're thinking of hiring someone, what better way to get to know them than to spend some volunteer time with them? You really get to see them in action. So I would put this out there to employers who have some openings and you got a couple of recruits you're looking at. Maybe sign up for a day at Hammer and Nails with them and see how they work under pressure.
It's interesting you should say that because I was visited today by the CEO of a manufacturing firm here in town, and they gave me their cards, and they said, if you get a volunteer that really busts it and they're looking for work, you give them this card and tell them to come and see us. So they are actually going to use us to find people with some action, motivation and determination. And I've already got somebody in mind to send to them. And that we had lunch today about this. And they're thinking, I don't want to give their name because everybody will run down and apply for a job.
Right.
But I do want to save that for our volunteers.
Isn't that cool?
Yep.
I've always thought the best way to get a job is to just volunteer.
You're right.
That's right.
Because you're
exactly
working and you're almost auditioning,
Yeah.
showing what kind of a worker you are. We also blessed with so many colleges and universities in this area. How do they work out as volunteers? Is that a good source for you?
Absolutely. The service days, things during the summer. But painting, One thing about Hammer Nails that's so unique is you give us the time that's best for you. If you can do it on a Monday, Tuesday, weekends, summertime, whatever time you can give us, we'll use it, and we'll get you to work. A lot of organizations can only use you at certain times, like a weekend, or they only do projects at certain times. But our calendar's open. You just tell us what day you want to work, or a weekend, or whatever event, a service day for a corporation, for a college, whatever it is, and we'll make it happen.
I know a lot of people that are looking for maybe a one-day thing.
Yeah.
Here and there.
And it's not just painters and carpenters. We do need office help. We need somebody to help us with our internet and our social media. We need somebody we'd like to blog about whatever that means, about some stuff. And I'd love to have like a high school kid, actually, because they know way more about this stuff than I do. Anybody, college, high school, office, filing, it's not just limited to carpentry and painting.
There's a million different ways to volunteer.
Susie, what you said about jobs, imagine volunteering at Hammer Nails and doing web design for us or doing a blog for us, and they need a resume, and they say, a lot of students say, well, I can't get a job because I don't have any experience. Well, volunteer, get some experience, and you can put us on your resume that you did this for us, and we can promote you in what you're doing.
It's one of the main things that young people complain about. They're asking for years of experience. How do I get years of experience? Right. Exactly right. Volunteer it, because that is real world work. And there you're showing it. What's it meant to you so far? You're both brand new at this, but you're both already passionate about it. Talk about that. How has this gripped you to this point?
Well, I'm excited about people who want to serve. People that want to serve make a difference. One of the stories, when I took this job, I was really contemplating, what is a volunteer? Who is their volunteers? And one of the stories that has always amazed me is Doolittle's Raiders during World War II. After Pearl Harbor, America was demoralized. We felt defeated after Pearl Harbor. And Doolittle, President of the United States, Roosevelt, planned this attack to attack Japan. And that whole unit, I believe there was 80 men in that flew those bombers, and they were all volunteers.
Wow.
They all volunteered for that. And when they accomplished that mission, it didn't finish the war, but it changed the whole mentality of what was happening in the nation. And I always say that one volunteer that commits can change the whole course of a nation. Mm-hmm. So it starts in a community. It starts with one person. It starts with one home. So a volunteer is the very fabric and the character of our nation and the church.
Yes.
The church is made up of volunteers.
Yes.
So they're the people that make the nation in the church.
That domino effect is pretty amazing. Folks listening, what number do we call again? Do you have a website?
330-453-6277.
Give that one more time, please.
453-6277.
And website?
www.hammerandnails, all one word, .org. Awesome. Hammerandnails.org.
Hammerandnails.
Yep.
.org.
.org.
Ray Fate, Barry Carter, thank you so much for what you're doing in our community.
Thank you, Susie, for having us on.